there, how are you doing? My name is Angel and I like all things that are mysterious. These are 14 creepy stories to leave you feeling just a little bit unsettled. 'Tis the season, it's time for some spooky stories via r/Reddit. From Fiber Wong. I was at home by myself one night, hanging out with my chameleon. He hangs out on his tree in front of the window while I'm awake, and at night when the lights are on out inside. You can see the reflection on the window. I was facing the window, watching my chameleon, and he was watching me when I saw a dark figure in the reflection of the window move across the room. I know my chameleon saw it too because he flinched and both of his eyes were locked on whatever was behind me. I looked around me and nothing was there. The next story is from Kaimaru. Sorry if I botched it. This happened last week. I was sleeping in bed and suddenly woke up like something had made me jump. I saw the outline of a person, too dark to see anything else, standing next to my bed and assumed it was my boyfriend. I laughed and said, "Oh my God, you scared me," and he got into my bed. I reached out my arms to hug him and I felt nothing. The next story is from eerie. I was looking after my mother's house for a week while she was on holiday. She had 2 cats that come in and out the house via cat flap. Very nice animals. Always cuddly and playful, even when they were old. So I get woken up in the middle of the night by loud meows from downstairs. I thought maybe the cat flap was stuck and they wanted to get out. I go downstairs to check and open the hallway door, and there are at least 15 black cats sitting in the hallway staring back at me. That's a little odd. Then I see my mother's cats sat amongst them, just chilling and meowing happily. I left them all to it and they were gone in the morning. Very odd. Anyways, next one. Mini 6 Ulrich 66. So it's not really creepy, but it was weird. I moved into my place a couple years ago. 2 weeks into it, there's a little flower necklace in my mailbox one day. Alright, whatever. I throw it out and keep on trucking. Next day I came home and there's a pair of sunglasses that look female to me, but could probably work for either party. And a note that basically says, "Hey, I think you'd look good in these. You should wear them next time we're together, blah blah." So clearly this person probably just thinks I'm somebody else. Again, I ignore it. Keep everything as evidence if needed and move on. 3 days later, I come home and check my mail expecting there to be something. Nope. Okay, cool. They fucked off. Head up to my door and there's panties hanging on the doorknob. Okay, I'm fairly uncomfortable because they've now come up to my place instead of the group mailbox downstairs. This means they know which party I'm in, or they know which apartment I'm in. This means they know which apartment I'm in. There we go. Pretty sure it's all still a big misunderstanding, so I write a note and put it on my door that basically says, "Hey, I don't know who you are, but you need to stop. I'm not whoever you think I am. Everything stops." A year later to the day, I come home and find another flower necklace in the mailbox. I took it out, ripped it up, threw it in the nearby trash can, and went upstairs. Nothing since then. That was good. Next story. It says deleted user. In late 2015, I was laid off from my job zoo and was staying with my grandparents for a couple months. My grandparents have 2 little dogs, and because Grandpa worked nights and Grandma was away in Texas for a month, they were really glad to have someone around to feed and walk the dogs during the day. One night, when I'm home alone, I'm relaxing in the tub when, through the skylight in the bathroom, I can hear whispered, hushed voices. that can only be coming from the back porch. I think I must be hearing things, but then both dogs start barking their heads off. My blood runs cold, and I leap out of the bath, pull my clothes on, and run to the porch door, but whoever was there was already gone. I took a shovel and walked the perimeter of the house, but found nothing. I want to know what they were going to do with a shovel. After that, Grandpa updated the security system. I mean, what were you going to do with a shovel, for real? Anyways, Catty Cat 15. Over the past summer, I was living alone in my apartment in a relatively safe college town. I was always paranoid and locked the door anytime I got home from somewhere, especially since I'm a female living somewhere alone. One morning, I woke up to go to the bathroom, and as I'm in there, I hear the front door creak open. Obviously scared, I carefully leave the bathroom and look around the corner to see the front door open about 6 inches. I slowly check the apartment for intruders, only to find nothing. Somehow, the door was unlocked while I was sleeping and opened by what I choose to call the wind. Needless to say, for the rest of the time I was alone in the apartment, I had my knife close by. Smart person. Mr. Fantastic 18. I was home with my sister, and I happened to look out the window and saw a woman skipping down the road singing. Okay, kind of weird, but she's enjoying herself. Then she slows down, stops, kneels down in the road, and sits dead still for like an hour. I told my sister not to go outside while she was there. I kept checking on her every once in a while. After a while, she stood up and started skipping and singing again like nothing happened. Next story. Party on, _Wade. I was fast asleep in my 4th floor balcony-less apartment when I awoke to voices directly outside my window. Oh, I see why they put that now. After a minute and a half, inner monologue battle of, am I crazy? I'm not crazy. Am I crazy? I finally decided that yes, I do in fact need to pull up the curtains to make sure that 2 Spanish-speaking men are not levitating directly outside of my 4th floor window. So, fully naked, hey, that's how I sleep, I tug on the base of the blind, snap it open, and there, directly outside my window, swapping out the lights of the neon sign that advertises the restaurant on the bottom floor of the building, are 2 men in a bucket on the end of a crane. I don't know who was more terrified at the instant sight of the other, me or the 2 dudes I'd visually scarred for life. Next story. Fast6 _PT_. When I was 6 years old or so, I used to share my room with my brother, and one morning I awoke and he wasn't in his bed. It was barely dawn, so the room was dark and I was obviously scared. I went to check in on my parents' room to see if he climbed into bed with them, and they weren't there. Nobody was home, so I went outside because I couldn't stand being alone in the house by myself. It was so foggy, I could barely see my driveway. There was no car, and it was just so silent that it was freaking me out. I ran to my backyard where I knew my dog would be, but it wasn't there. I was completely alone in my home in this fog. I fell asleep under my bed and woke up to chatter from the kitchen. Apparently my brother had some ear gum infection and was running a high fever, throwing up and such, so they took him to the hospital. My little brother was 4, and he turned out to be alright. My dog was just out and about somewhere in the neighborhood and just wasn't close to my house when I was out there. In southern Louisiana, we don't have fences in a lot of the neighborhoods, and we live in a little distant from the next house over, so this is very common. Next story. JP Pterodactyl. I used to rent a room in a basement apartment. My friend's family lived in the real house upstairs, which is how I ended up there. They have a lot of family parties. They're first generation Filipino. Family parties are a frequent thing. One day, I was doing some homework in my room. The other two tenants were home, so I had apartment B to myself. But they were being so loud upstairs, I was having trouble focusing. So much chatter and feet moving around, sounded like dancing was going on. I texted my friend, "You guys sound like you're really having a good time up there. I'm not really getting anything done. Can I come up?" He texts back, "No one is home. We went to Wisconsin for the weekend." I went outside, saw that no one's car was there and no lights were on in the house. And then I just went for a walk. Hold on, I lost my spot. I then went for a walk until someone else got home. Edit. Since this got really big, I wanted to add two things. First, I'm moving back there this year, and secondly, they found human bones there this summer. Holy crap. Anyways, next story. Shatterly. I spent 6 months living alone in a cabin near the end of a dirt road in central New Hampshire. Nearest neighbors were a quarter mile or so up or down the road. It's an area where people definitely keep to themselves. Had all sorts of animal visitors, bears on the porch, you name it, but never random people around. One morning, I went out to my car to go to work. It was spring, and we just had a late frost. On the rear window of my truck, someone had written, "I watch you," with their finger in the frost. I never had an actual problem in the rest of my time there, but that freaked me the fuck out. Same. Next story. Forbidden Way. Was staying alone in my brother's apartment while he was at sea. I was across the country away from everyone I know. Late at night, I hear a cell phone ringing from somewhere inside the apartment. An old, creepy-ass Nokia cell phone ring, like in a horror movie. I searched high and low and could not find anything, or pinpoint where the hell it was coming from, but it was close. I should mention the apartment was almost bare, so there wasn't many places to hide something. Eventually, it stopped ringing. Texted my brother and asked if he'd left an extra cell phone home. He said no. I never did hear the ring again. I will always wonder what the hell that was all about. Man, I had one of them old Nokias too. Like one of the first original Nokias they made. My fire's getting bigger. Hopefully the GoPro's far enough away. Even my phone's heating up. Next story. Tricky_a chew. I was slapped hard while I was asleep. Woke up with my cheek hurting and ears ringing. I lived alone at the time. Another less creepy, after the fact story I remember, was when I was crashing at my uncle's for a couple months in summer. While he was at work and sometimes at night, I would hear a woman yelling, "Hey, you there?" At first, I was very freaked out, but a couple times during daytime, I'd look for the source and try and talk to her, and she never replied. I asked my uncle after a few days, and it turns out it was the pet parrot of the guy who lived across the hall. I had heard him before making weird noises and screeching, but never had I ever imagined it could replicate a woman's voice like that. But yeah, I did see him do that in person sometime later. So nothing paranormal there at least. And then the final story. _K_Mauled. This just happened to me about 2 days ago. I came home to my kitchen and living room windows, both open. A little suspicious, considering it's winter, and my main goal is keeping heat in. Called the guy I'm talking to, asked if he opened them, confirmed. While still on the phone with him, I walked into my bedroom and saw both my space heaters in the middle of the room blasting heat with a towel in between both of them. That's really odd, and they also don't know how to punctuate anything in this story. Knowing I left the house with them both off and not in the location was weird. Still on the phone with the guy, I asked if he did this and replied no. After you left, I left. I walked over to where the towel was and picked it up. Was wet and had a weird smell, but not pee or anything. basically was the weirdest thing because I don't know what happened, and the guy said he didn't know either. So the mystery is still definitely unsolved. And on that note, if you like this video, go ahead and give me a thumbs up. If you'd like to see more stories like this, go ahead and subscribe. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Oh, I'm so fucking hot.